welcome back to my channel. For this week's video, I thought it could be fun to just do a cumulative book haul. Don't know why that was a struggle for me to say just then, but I've been purchasing books throughout the year and I've realized I haven't done an official book haul in a hot minute on my channel, so I've rounded up the books that I've purchased. You may have already seen them in some videos already, so I'll still share some like high-level insights recapping if I enjoyed them or not. Some of them have been included in like reading vlogs, but for the most part there's a good chunk of here that I haven't really talked about or shown in videos, and it was recently my birthday, so I did pick up some new things to showcase it to you guys as well. But we'll just dive right in. So one of my goals for this year was to better flesh out my classic / banned book section in my own collection. I have a lot of fiction, a lot of fantasy, a lot of romance, and I realized to be more well-rounded, I should probably also pick up some of these books. Also, we gotta support the banned books. So I have 3 right here. 2 of them I have not read and 1 of them I have read. So the one that I have read is Fahrenheit 451. I read this in middle school and it's still stuck with me even today as a 28-year-old. I wish though, however, I got a different edition printing. I know there's so many different versions and editions of this book out there, but this was the literal last copy at my Barnes & Noble when I picked it up, so I took it as a sign, as it was meant to be for me to pick it up. And then the next 2 books I have not read, but they are on my list to read at some point in my life. So the first one being Animal Farm, and then 1984. I love how these look stacked together. I think beautiful additions. Animal Farm is extremely short. I feel like I can read this year, and then 1984 I might get to it in the winter / early next year, but I feel like both of these are staples in the banned book and classic collection, and just a lot of people have read these and I feel like it would be great to read them, so I picked them up. So these are the 3 books that I picked up recently to flesh out my collection a bit more. I'm always on the hunt though to add to this. I got Catcher in the Rye recently. My mom has that edition or that book right now because she's going to read it and then I'm going to read it. So there's more that I want to add, but basically every time I go book shopping, I try to add to this collection so that I'm feeling, you know, balanced in my reading. I feel like it's no secret I've been on a huge fantasy kick on my reading journey right now. And so the next books that I'm basically about to show are all fantasy books, but I am excited to read all of them. So the first book that I have is The Poppy War. You guys have probably seen this in some TBR videos of me wanting to read this, or like in the background of a video. I've never read this book or this series or anything by R.F. Kuang, and I really want to read a lot of her work because I feel like everyone freaks out when she publishes a new book, and so I need to know what the hype is, and I figured I might as well start with The Poppy War because this is like kind of, I think, the trilogy that everyone first got into when reading R.F. Kuang's books. Or at least this is what people recommend. So here I am. I'm really excited. I feel like I've seen actually a lot of people read this trilogy for the first time this year, and everyone's been raving about it and very excited. So I'm excited to pick it up. Do I know anything about it? No, but I do know that apparently later on in this trilogy, it's like gut-wrenching. You need boxes of tissues handy. So that's all I know. The next fantasy book that I have purchased this year, is this fantasy? Is it sci-fi? Actually, or is it a hybrid? I'm not fully sure. I think it's fantasy, but it's The Fifth Season. I feel like I saw Books and Lala talking about this book like a little over a year ago, I think, and she raved about it, and she is not someone that really reads much in the fantasy world, or she kind of does. She reads like cozy fantasies and like maybe some romantasy now, but I remember when she picked this up, I was intrigued, and then everyone in the comments were basically like, this book's amazing, this book's amazing, everyone needs to read it. So I am nothing but a sheep and I picked up this book. When I did check out though, the Barnes & Noble person who was checking me out said that this whole franchise is really good. I don't really know how many books or like what all this is. I think it's a trilogy and there might be some other books. I could be totally wrong. And I truly don't know anything about this book other than that people rave about it, and that's all I know. That's all I needed to know going in and before purchasing it. Again, I only picked up book 1 in case I didn't like it, and I'm not like, you know, feeling bad that I purchased the rest of the series, but I am very excited. I'll probably get to it in the fall time. It just looks like a fall book. And then in my most recent TBR video, you probably saw this, but I did pick up An Ember in the Ashes this year. I'm really excited to get to this one. Like I've said in so many videos, I feel like I've seen a lot of people read this series this year. I think it's because it got recovered or new covers and it just like, you know, is recirculating in popularity, but I'm excited. I just feel like this is going to be a fun YA fantasy book, and I personally love YA fantasy. They go really fast, they're snappy, and usually it's not a lot of brain power to read these books, so really excited to get to this one. And then rounding out the fantasy books, I did purchase a lot of Throne of Glass this year. I've basically purchased Crown of Midnights all the way to Kingdom of Ash. I'm currently on the tandem read, so I'm reading Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. So those are, you know, somewhere in my house right now. But I'm currently in the middle of those. And then I have Kingdom of Ash here. My God, is this book thick or what? I'm scared to get to this one if I'm being honest, but this has been kind of my main reading journey as of this year, is just reading Throne of Glass. It's been on my TBR for a hot minute, and I figured this was going to be the year that I finally read it. I'm not gonna lie, I've kind of dragged out the tandem read a little bit just because, one, I don't want the series to end, and two, I'm a little bit scared and intimidated to get to this book. Every reaction I've seen of people reading Kingdom of Ash and like their reaction when they finish is just like devastation, so I'm scared. I also just don't want the series to end. Like, I really don't, but I'm enjoying the tandem read so far, and I can't wait to get into Kingdom of Ash, but I have purchased basically the good chunk of this series. I'm just gonna showcase Kingdom of Ash because I'm quite frankly too lazy to get them off of my shelf right now, the books that I have read in this. So those are books that I haven't read in my TBR, or like the books that I've purchased this year, with the exception of Fahrenheit 451. Everything else is unread that I'm prioritizing trying to read this year. I've kind of realized in general with my book shopping, I am less like buying everything and being more instead picky on the books that I pick up, because I realized I have books at home. I need to be prioritizing reading these books. And if there's like a book that I'm desperately wanting to read, I can either try and check it out at the library, or I can maybe get it on audiobook instead. So I'm really trying to just balance out my reading and not trying to just buy everything. Also, I'm in an apartment. Like, there's not that much real estate here that I can be housing all these books. So I've just been trying to be a little bit more picky on the books that I'm buying, and I think it's been paying off because I have been prioritizing my physical TBR and making my way through those. So those are all the unread books. Now I'm going to show you books that I have purchased and basically read right away. Sticking in the fantasy theme, we have Heavenly Bodies. I saw a lot of people reading this at the beginning of this year, / when this came out in the indie version. I did see a lot of conversations around this, and then when it got picked up traditionally, I was very excited. However, the special edition of this book had these ugly purple edges, and they were not good. They were really bad. They looked terrible, and so that's what like hindered me from picking it up physically and reading it for a hot minute, until one afternoon I decided to browse the local Barnes & Noble near me, and what did they have? A normal edition. And can I just say, publishers, please, I am begging you, not every book needs to be a special edition, especially if you're just gonna do a one colored edge, because 9 times out of 10 it does not look good. Anyways, getting off my soapbox, I did read Heavenly Bodies. This was a fun time. It's kind of chaotic. A lot happens in this book. You go through a lot of different tropes that are popular in romantasy as well, but I had a fun time reading this, and the cliffhanger in this book is truly crazy, so I probably will pick up the sequel. However, when it was published indie, like the indie version of the second book, I feel like I saw people not enjoying it as much, and they were slightly disappointed, so I don't know if they're gonna maybe tweak it a little bit before it gets traditionally published. But I loved this book. I love the premise. Astrology aspect of this book was really fun. I'm someone who enjoys astrology, so like the elements of that in here were unique and fun, and just in general, the world building in this was very different to any other fantasy book that I've read. So if you've been on the fence, I would recommend reading it, checking it out, but maybe just like don't expect it to be 5-star. Like, lower the expectations, go in for the vibes, and I think you'll have a fun time. Also, just again, the last like 15% of this book and the plot twist at the end were chef's kiss great. And then I did a reading vlog recently of this one, But One Golden Summer. This was one of my most anticipated reads of this year, so of course I had to pick it up and read it right away, and I'm so happy I did. It's a 5-star read for me. This is actually my favorite book from Carly Fortune to date. I think this book in particular is just worlds apart from her other books. I think it's fun. Also, I feel like knowing what happens in Every Summer After helps this book out a lot, because you already know Charlie and you already know some of the characters that are mentioned throughout this book, and so I just felt like this was set up for success, and it was just beyond perfection. I loved our main female character in here as well, so cannot recommend this book enough. If you've been skeptical of a Carly Fortune book ever since you maybe read Every Summer After or Meet Me at the Lake, Meet Me at the Lake is her worst book, if I'm being honest. Please pick this one up. It is spectacular. It is by far her best writing as well, and just the banter, the storylines, perfection. I cannot rave about it enough. So I picked this one up and read it right away because I just had to know what was going on in this. And then the next book that I picked up recently, I was just suckered in because of the sprayed edges. I know I just went on a rant of like sprayed edges, we don't need them, but these are cute and this is well done, and that is Summer in This City. These edges are absolutely adorable. It's not just one solid color, it matches the vibe and the theme of the book being set in New York, and we have these cute little taxi cabs. Also, what suckered me into buying this book is that there's a map in it. This is so adorable and cute, and I need more romance books to have a map included in them because it's precious and adorable. One thing I will say is that there were a lot of editions of this book which kind of, you know, feels a bit not cool, but I get it. More accessibility. Not everyone has like some locations, some retailers near them, so I totally get it. I was a sucker, you know, I got drawn in for these sprayed edges. These are totally cute, and this book was fun. It was my first billionaire romance, and I think I need to dive more into this genre within romance because I had such a fun time. I would say just go in for fun plot, not fully serious, you know, like there was something towards the end of this book where I was like, okay, roll my eyes a little bit. However, regardless of that, I still had a fun time, and I would recommend this to friends, especially if you're like diving into this or if you just need a palette cleanser. I flew through this book. It's short, to the point, and fun. And then the next book that I'm going to showcase is actually also been included in a reading vlog as well, and that is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. Again, one of my most anticipated reads of this year, so naturally I had to pick it up. Now normally I pick up the paperback version of her books because that's what I've been collecting. However, I saw this is going to be a part of Reese Witherspoon's book club, and so that means it's going to have those ugly labels that you cannot peel off, and so I knew I didn't want that on my copy, so I ran to Barnes & Noble and secured one that has no additional stickers on it. Also, I do like this color, this printing, the more pinky orange tones versus the red. I like this colorway a bit more, and then also the end papers, while they're simple, they're really cute and it just screams summer, and then it does have a fun gold foiling detailing on the cover. So that's how I justified buying this book physically. And I'm happy that I do have it in my collection because I do have a hardback of Beach Read, a special edition version. So now having this one, it kind of rounds out the collection a bit more, and it looks good on the shelf. This is the logic that I use in my head to justify purchasing a hardback romance. Anyways, I enjoyed this book. It's very different than her other romance books, and I would place this like in the middle of my ranking of Emily Henry books. It was good. It's just very different, and it's hard to compare this book, I think, to her other ones because in my opinion, there's minimal romance in this book, and so that's why it's hard to compare them. Found this romance to just be a little bit on the unbelievable side, more on the lust and like love at first sight kind of vibes, versus her other books. I feel like you really get to dive into the romance and the friendship aspects of those characters, and we didn't necessarily get that with this one, and that's totally okay because we got to see Margaret and like all of the other characters in this book, so I understand, but it does like deduct a few points, you know, in my ranking of this one. So anyways, I still enjoyed it nonetheless. If you're an Emily Henry fan, I think you should still read it, and then you can determine what you think of it. Those are books that I picked up kind of throughout the year, and then it was just my birthday recently, so I did pick up 3 things that I want to showcase. 2 books, 1 bookmark. I have just been in the mood to read more in the Shadowhunter universe. I've read the Mortal Instruments one and then the Infernal Devices, and I now just want to keep on continuing in this series, so I picked up The City of Fallen Angels. This is book 4, I believe, in continuing the City of Bones universe, or the Shadowhunters universe, so I'm excited. I personally just love this world, and it's so nostalgic for me because I did read the first 3 books when they came out back in the day. And I don't know, I also just love that there's a lot of books in this series and that I can like take my time reading them. I do think there is something coming out that's going to be the conclusion of it. So I kind of do want to make sure I'm pacing myself, because when that book comes out, I think it'll be really fun to like be excited for it with everyone else. So yeah, I picked up the next one. This is like a book that I've been thinking about recently. I've also just been getting a lot of content of it on Instagram, like people reading The Infernal Devices or like City of Bones for the first time. And I was like, you know what? I need to keep going in this universe. And so I picked this book up. Also, I just love the spines on how they all have, they make like an image when put together. Genius, 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 love it. So yeah, pick this one up. I was tempted to pick up more, but I'm gonna pace myself and pick up this one. And then as a reward, I can go back to Barnes & Noble and, you know, pick up some more. So anyways, I picked up this lovely book, and then I read my first Kristen Hanna book this year, and I want to read more in her writing. And so I personally picked up The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna as the next book I think I want to read. I know Firefly Lane's a big one. This one's a big one. The Great Alone is also a pretty popular one. And I figured I would start with this one. I think I'm gonna save it for fall. I don't know why, but the cover is giving like a moody fall rainy day for me to read this one. And it's also thick, and I also know to have tissues ready. So I'm just prepared for when I need an emotional read, I'll be reading this book. I picked up these two books. I realized I wanted to pick up also a Fredrik Backman book, but shockingly, they didn't have any in stock. I guess someone bought them out. But so that's on my list of like to buy next time I go. And then like I said, I did pick up Catcher in the Rye, but my mom's going to read that first and then give it to me. So that's fleshing out more of my classical collection there. And then the bookmark that I purchased is literally so cute. It's to die for. It's this cutie little kitten book where you like place it so like the cat head will stick up above the page. Like, talk about how cute this is. I'm a sucker for it. They had a whole cat section display at my Barnes & Noble, and I saw this bookmark and knew I had to get it. Is it silly and ridiculous? Yes. And I've been trying to be better about using bookmarks, and so I just, you know, I had to pick it up. What can I say? Anyways, you guys, so that rounds out my book haul for this year so far. We're like halfway through the year, and honestly, I feel like every book that I've purchased is like reasonable. There's nothing that I'm like, I'm never gonna read this. Why did I buy it? I'm feeling confident that I'm gonna get through all of these this year, and I've just been really mindful of what I'm picking up and just using the resources available to me. Library, Libby, I do have Audible, so I've been trying to just, you know, diversify my reading collection. So if you've read any of these, let me know your thoughts on them down below in the comments, or if there's a book you really think I should pick up that matches the vibes of what I've hauled, definitely let me know. It's not like I don't want to buy books, I just haven't felt the pull to buy one or buy as many as I have in the past. But yeah, as always guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss out, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye guys.